Taking Heart, Finding Our Way Together, the podcast of the International Students' Conference 2024. Welcome to the third episode. That's easy math. Now it's weeks until the conference. The days are just packed, but I took the time to record a long podcast episode for you with my guest today. As always, you have many opportunities to participate in this podcast, which I listed right at the beginning of the second episode already. To cover open costs and to support you all with the travel expenses, we have an open crowdfunder. The link is in the description of the episode. Together we are the strongest. Feel free to send it to friends and family. But so that I don't talk too much now, let's start the conversation right away. Dear Yecu, you're the first of the ISC speakers to be a guest on our podcast, and we want to publish this format to give young people around the world an opportunity to connect with the conference and engage with the topic right now. And I have therefore prepared a few questions for you to introduce yourself, as I do for all guests in the podcast. So let's just start and dive into it. So what is your name and where are you from? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Yecu, and I am from Argentina. And I am living here in Europe since almost 17 years.
Wow. Yeah,
and
that's
in
a long
Germany,
time.
half of it.
Yeah. Where exactly in Germany? Is it Munich?
Yeah, I am now in Munich. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Since 8 years. It's now the longest I have been in a city.
Right. It's a beautiful city.
It's very beautiful. And I live in the countryside, so not in the city. It's a very beautiful place.
Can you see the mountains then?
I can.
That's nice. I love that.
Yeah.
And where did you live before?
Oh, I lived in Stuttgart in Germany, in Freiburg.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 1 year in a camping community in London. Actually close to London, south from London. And then I studied in Italy. I was 5 years working and studying in Rome.
All right.
Quite a different way.
What a journey.
Yeah.
How great that you worked in a camper community. I didn't know.
Yeah, that was my work before, because I was 1 year there, and after that it turned to be my work for the next 5 years in Italy. There is an institution there, and while studying, I was always working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good point to put the next question. And so, what do you do for your living now?
Yeah, now I am a priest in the Christian community.
Right.
Since 8 years, and I as I read your question, I was also asking myself, okay, what does it mean when I say I'm a priest? And I would say I have a profession where I always meet people in a very special moment of their lives.
For sure.
Yeah. So calling it a crisis moment or a turning point or a crossroad. So that's my profession, is just to meet and encounter, if it's possible, people in this moment and try to go through this moment and learn about it. Yeah, that's how I would say trying to be a priest in a modern way. It is.
That's wonderful. You know, when I have new guests on the podcast, I always ask them the typical questions. What is your name? Where you're from? You know, stuff like that. I think we have to ask ourselves, are these questions really important to know who you are? Yeah. And you just told me about your relationship with the priesthood. Like this is your not just profession, but it feels like this is really important for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it such a profession. And maybe this question is actually important to understand who you are. Don't you think so?
I also think it is, when I ask you something that is like a common thing, like how old are you or what do you do? Of course, I am like naming the mask. Yeah. And for me, the image is similar to when you see a person and you like look at the whole faith, and maybe you have people you already know some years, and you always see them every day, and there is a moment where you meet them in the eyes and you look at them closely for, let's say, 10 seconds, and that's then you realize, oh, who are you? This is always a kind of a vacuum, an empty space. So I feel like these math questions are like just an approach, a gently approach to the other person. It's like in German when you say "sie," you say the third person to another one, just to keep it gently, and then there is a moment when you say "you." Of course, it's not there anymore; it's gone, and it's also good.
That's right. Now that I speak more English here in Dornach, sometimes I get things mixed up in my head and I try to say this form of politeness. I don't know. I try to do it in English and then I realize, wow, okay, there's just you. No matter if it's my best friend that I have known for 10 years or a foreign person I just met the other day.
Yeah, I think it helps us to go to the reality that we are all you. We are human beings, and in a way, I for me it's always a release that I just say you and experience who is there at the moment, and I think it's really an easier way to connect today. There's a help, but of course, it doesn't explain who you are, how you look like, where are you coming from, but it gives you a platform to speak out of it. So you can start there and go into the being, into the real things. And they are always out of nation, out of culture, they are moving every day different. So when we speak today, I am a person, and if we would meet in a bar tomorrow, there would be another meeting, or in a funeral will be another meeting.
That's right. Yeah. There's a reason why you will be the third of our speakers on Saturday, April 13th. The reason is pretty simple, because we invited you and you said yes. But of course, there's more to it than that. And we know why we invited you as a priest with such rich experiences, also in the field of youth work. But I want to put the question to you: what connects you to the big youth conference that you will contribute to as one of our 4 main lecturers? What connects you to the ISC?
Yeah, I would like to say what I said to you also when we spoke the first time. I am glad to try to contribute with this talk, but I am way more expecting the moments out of that. So I think that the contributions can be like a starter for conversation for every person. So I can input a movement, a shaking, if it is good, for them connect and meet and do.
And that's so great. That's so great. I think this is really what the young people coming to the conference appreciate.
Yeah.
Such a gift that you can stay for the whole conference, catch the opportunities to meet in between, to meet in the corridors, answering questions after your lecture, after things you brought up on stage. This is really precious because on many of the conferences, not only youth conferences, there are keynote speakers, lecturers who come for 3 hours and leave after. And of course, their lecture can be so amazing, can be great and interesting, definitely. But we are organizing a youth conference, and there's something to it, that feeling of wholeness, of having time.
And you know what? I think, of course, I am not young at all in my age. I mean, of course, I'm not old, but I am not in these youngsters. So long time ago. But there is a youth which is in the heart, I think, and this connects everywhere and everyone. So the youth conference for me is so important because of the age, it is still like given, not totally given, but it's easier for people to feel we are friends on a very emotional level, but also on a very spiritual, more like human level. That's happening somehow there. And this is for me, a very important experience for life. Because after that, when you are maybe 25, 30, you have a family, you have a work, you can recall these experiences and feel that the youth force, energy is still there in you if you activate it. So we don't have to become older in our heart. And this is I think a very important message and a very important activity that could, if it works, it could connect the older with the young. It doesn't happen. We see it in the world. Yeah, it's disconnected. But the youth is a power that is not only for the youth. I think the youth is a kind of a human power that in the youth is given. And if it is activated, it can go through the years also for the older. I mean, there are older people that are so young.
That's so nice. You see, maybe the reason for that the youth is so connected to this power, to this force of youth. Definitely it's the age, but what more? Because I feel like the being young on Earth is like a haven that you have to go through to then start as a ship on the sea. And maybe the haven could be this very intense 7 years, the first 7 years, the second 7 years, and then the third, until you arrive, until you have built your ship with which you can then start. But then there's not this feeling of having a haven and having a fixed home or place. I didn't experience it yet, but that's how I expect it to then being released into an ocean with so many possibilities, not external possibilities, but internal. You're not so guided anymore. This feeling of a haven, this is really what connects people together, and they can feel, okay, he's in the same building stage in the haven as I am right now.
I think also totally it's beautiful what you say, because I really feel that what happens in these years between 16 and 20 stays for everywhere, for every time later. So it's it's a real special time, and the experiences they have another weight, a different weight than experiences that you have later. And I don't want to say what also happens for a lot of people. They become older and they feel, oh, it was so nice when I was 17, 18, I had everything. I was open, and now I'm old and grumpy. So it doesn't have to become that, but it can become this. And that means for me, living these years is existentially important. Really being there, doing this kind of conferences also in these years is very important. What you do later, it's your own responsibility. So, but it's like it can be a starting point for freedom, actually, and love. I think that's really the two words that are the most important words in this time: freedom and love. Yeah. So you are in love with people, in love with ideas, in love with. So it's a kind of organ, an organ of perception. And
Yes.
in this time, you kind of clairvoyantly see, where do I feel not free? I think in this time it's like this opens up. Oh, I feel I want to break through this.
Many young people have a very clear perception and observation of their self. This is maybe one of the powers. That's right. Nevertheless, I think it's very legitimate question what young people need these days, what they lack. And I ask myself often, is the best way to nourish their needs really more events like this? Like, what importance do you see in this type of gathering? I'm sure there are other ways to connect and to find what the youth is lacking right now, which is, in my opinion, connection and community and also spirituality, but this is really connected to community, in my opinion. I want to have it clear in mind for just for myself, an answered question, what the importance of these type of gatherings is. And I didn't come to an end yet.
Yeah, it would be very bad, because if not, you couldn't make the next one different. Like my life, and I think the life of young people is not so different in this aspect, brings me to disconnection. And it can be my physical body, like not doing something that is making me feel good, and can be being computer or reading or just going out of the perception of my own body. But it can be also the non-perception of the world around me. And I would say one aspect of that, because it's a big thing, is that I hope, and I try when I speak with people, and also for myself, to awaken the sense of curiosity and joy for the life what we have, without taking out the real problems we have, like the earth problems and the society problems. So all the darkness, we don't have to blend it, but even if we have this, to have joyful life. And I think that's a real challenge for the youth, because there is a lot of feeling boring. Life is boring. I sit there and it feels like boring. So I have to go somewhere, to chat somewhere, to TikTok a bit, to Facebook a little bit, to Instagram. And these are not the problems, of course. These are just different ways of connecting or disconnecting. And I think they are used a lot to disconnect. And that's the problem.
I see the importance of this real connecting, not justified in itself, but it becomes more important through the disconnecting. We should go as far in the one direction of real connectedness in the real world as we go in the other direction of disconnecting. This is balance, because it has some importance for our time, or for us to experience this disconnecting. Maybe it is just to find a real connecting again. I don't know, but we should have an eye on the balance.
Yeah. And maybe to go out that disconnecting is always connecting to something. So you cannot not connect. That's why it's so important to disconnect from some things. When you say, hey, I just put play and disappear for a moment, I am disconnecting from some things to connect to some other things. And that's also a part of moving, being aware of where I am, what do I need. Maybe this is more kind of a topic. What do I really need now? And then be courageous to do that, being in one direction or the other, but keep or develop the consciousness of the needs I have or we have when we are together.
But what was on your mind when you were our age, the age of the participants from 16 to 20? Do you think it's similar to what we experience right now?
Yeah, totally. I think it's very similar. Maybe the pressure is bigger. The external pressure of the power of this connection is stronger. I use now the word disconnection as that what brings me out of my own impulse. This is a bit, I feel it's stronger. The language of the media is stronger.
Okay.
The language of our own relationships. The awareness is a bit more there of the tasks and difficulties we have. But I think my heart was burning for my life and the world in this age.
We read a text from Maria Röschel-Leers the other day, who is the first leader of the youth section at the Goetheanum. And she wrote a very nice sentence that I think is fitting very well here. And she said, in reading the pattern that is woven into nature by the divine spiritual force behind nature, or which is nature and weaving into the physical world, we learn to read the riddle, which is the human being, and we recognize ourselves. This is a very free translation. not so good, but you get the idea that you recognize yourself through connecting to the world you're living in. And this is not only nature, I think this is also other human beings.
Yeah.
That's where the importance of those meetings lies, maybe.
Yeah. That's a really this thought would lead to what I will want to talk about, these topics, what I wrote as the themes I would like to speak about.
Oh, great.
I think that's exactly the point. That's a starting point because it's exactly this connection with what happens between you and me as a human, as a world. What is happening there?
We will publish your titles for your lecture in our program on our website. I didn't want to speak about this today intentionally because this will be the lecture. But today I just wanted to meet you as a person and give the audience and the participants coming in April a bit of an idea who you are. I think this went really well. We already spoke half an hour now.
Yeah, I have looked at that. Yeah, thank you, Noel.
I'm currently sitting in the office of the youth section on the east
Yeah.
side of the Goetheanum building. And this is, for me, it's still exciting. Do you know the space, the place? And
when you ask me what connects you to the Goetheanum, I was in these youth conferences when I was in this age, and one of them, it was very important for me. So I know the place, and I was also there where you are there sitting.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice ending to know that you've been here, that you attended the conferences we're organizing, the youth conferences internationally. Thanks for the conversation, Yecu. We will hear again from each other. Yeah. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. You too. And see you soon.
We have heard about this power that is still very much at our disposal, which also gives us a great responsibility to pass on our strength. The spirit of youth that Yecu described was also described by Nobel Prize winner Albert Schweitzer in a quote, which I will end today's episode with. You are as young as your confidence. Youth is not a stage of life, it is a state of mind.